Yes, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Ayanna Heaven here on the Lot Radio with a very, very, very special guest this afternoon. I have the wonderful, I don't, so many words I could use to describe you, but I will just say you are a legend, and I'm so grateful to have you here. This is Linton Kwesi Johnson, everyone.
Greetings.
Put that closer to you. Yeah, Linton, so you just came in last night. How you feeling? Yesterday evening, right?
Yeah, a little bit tired.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm fine.
Good. Yeah, I'm just excited to have you here. You're here for the weekend. You have a very special show this Saturday at BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music. You will be doing your first theatrical performance I saw in almost 20 years. You were here just last year, but you haven't done a performance in a while, yeah?
Was I here last year?
That's what I saw. 2014. So 11 years ago. Okay.
Are you sure it wasn't 2016? Anyway,
it
the
2016?
last time I was here, I was artist in resident at NYU Institute of International Affairs under the auspices of Manchia Diarra.
Okay.
I hope I've pronounced his name properly. Nice guy. I was treated very well, and I got to meet some nice people, including the great Walter Mosley.
Wonderful. Oh man, I want to hear more about that. I didn't realize that was the last time you were here, and that was the reason why.
He's one of the people who supported the Institute of International Affairs. They organize public events rather than events for students. That's one of their ways of interacting with the wider public. And I was in a very honored position of following people like Amiri Baraka, Jane Cortez, and Walter himself, who were fellow artists in residence.
Okay, and that was in 2016.
I think so.
Okay.
I mean,
Wow.
my memory is not great.
Well, welcome back. I mean, if it was 2016, 2014, it's still been quite a while since you've been here. So it's wonderful to have you here in New York. And again, I'm super excited about this.
I came after that, actually.
Okay.
I came for a joint memorial, held at NYU for Amiri Baraka and Jane Cortez, because they died within about a year of each other.
Okay. What? That was like 4 years ago? How long ago was that?
No, it's quite a few years ago.
Okay.
Quite a few years ago. I remember it was in January or February, and it was below freezing. I'd never been so cold in my entire life. It was something like, 21 degrees centigrade or something. I survived.
I'm surprised coming from London you say you haven't been that cold, because I feel like the weather is so comparable, no?
No. We have global warming. Maybe it hasn't affected you guys, but we have kind of weird weather. When I was a kid, you used to, you was guaranteed to have snow and all that sort of stuff. Very rare we have that in London. Well, in the north they do, in Scotland, but in London we don't get much snow anymore.
Yeah. I feel like we get less snow here than we ever did too. Totally. It's hitting everybody, that climate change. Very, very unfortunate. Just one of these many issues that are so important to speak about today, and the issues just continue to evolve as time goes on.
I must mention Jaira from the Institute, not the Institute of International Affairs. Why did I say that? It's the Institute of African American Affairs.
Okay.
I think it was.
Okay.
Anyway, it was NYU.
And it's just, again, so good to have you here. You're going to be at BAM this weekend. We're going to be, you will have a special talk about Dread Beaten Blood, and also a screening, a newly restored screening of the documentary portrait Dread Beaten Blood. So let's play that title track actually, just to get things started and
Oh,
get people hearing a bit of your work.
I haven't heard that in about 40 years.
All
Yeah, go
right,
ahead.
well, let's get it started. Linton Kwesi Johnson, everybody, here in the Lot Studio.
Brothers and sisters rocking, a dread beat pulsing, fire burning, chocolate hour and darkness creeping, night, black veiled night is weeping, electric lights consoling, night, a small hall soaked in smoke, a house of ganja mist, music blazing, sounding, thumping, fire, blood, brothers and sisters rocking, stopping, rocking, music breaking out, bleeding out, thumping out, fire, burning, electric hour of the red bulb, staying in the brain with the blood flow, and the bad thing is brewing. Ganja crawling, creeping to the brain, coat lights hurting, breaking, hurting, fire in the head and a dread beat, bleeding, beating, fire, dread. Rocks rolling over, heart sleeping while rage rising out of the heat and the hurt. And the fist curling anger reaches a her. Then flash of a blade from another to a him leaps out for a dig of a flesh of a piece of skin. And blood, bitterness, exploding fire, wailing blood and bleeding.
Once again, we have the wonderful Linton Kwesi Johnson here in the Lot Studio today. Again, so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for just being willing to join me here on the studio. I want to just give people a little bit of background on just who you are, if people are not familiar. We actually have a lot of parallels in our story. It's been really interesting learning more about you. Born in Clarendon, Jamaica, 1952, and you moved to London when you were 11, yes?
63.
Okay, let me put this a little bit closer to you. So you moved to London in 63, you moved straight to Brixton in 1963, and you are your parents are parts of the Windrush generation.
So-called Windrush generation. I don't use that expression because it's a hype. I prefer to say the generation of post-World War II Caribbean migrants who settled in England. Windrush has been, it's been appropriated by the British state and turned into something that shows them in a good light, whereas in fact, many people of that generation were scandalously treated in the same way that the ICE campaign is going on here in America. They were treated more or less in the same way. Disenfranchised of their British citizenship. Don't forget, though that generation were coming from British colonies, they were British citizens. They were educated and socialized into the British imperial entity. So I don't deal with no Windrush business. It's post World War II migrants.
Thank you for that. Thank you for making sure the language is correct there, because language is so important, and we do often hear this kind of like overarching Windrush term to
Yeah,
describe.
it's bullshit.
Yeah. Yo, I mean, and you've never shied away from talking about these issues in your work, which is what made you so prolific, and your observations about, you know, just the experience of Afro-Caribbean immigrants living in London. You moved here again, or you moved to the UK as a child, as an 11-year-old. Tell us a little bit about your childhood in Jamaica, and then the switch into moving to Brixton.
My childhood education in Jamaica, I went to an elementary school, one of those schools that you went from the year of 6 to about 14, 15, I think. Actually, when I left Jamaica, most of the boys in my class were 3 years older than me, because I kept on skipping class, getting promoted. I was quite bright, I was told. Unfortunately, my father was illiterate, my mother was semi-literate, and my grandmother, who I was left with when my mother went to England, she too was illiterate. So I didn't have much, and we only had one book in the house, which was my grandmother's Bible. I did well in school, because the educational system there was very rigorous, based on the old colonial emphasis on the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. So when I went to England, the basic grounding that I had in Jamaica stood me in good standing. In my first year, I won a prize for English for my year group. And a couple of years later, I won another prize. I think it was for commerce or economics or something or the other. But the basic fundamental grounding I had in Jamaica stood me in very good stead, because English, for example, when I went to school in England, I was surprised that they didn't do English, they didn't teach English language as such. I mean, grammar. They didn't teach grammar, which, I thought that was quite extraordinary. And I did okay. I mean, the system that we had in England was very stratified, based on the class structure. Boys from very poor backgrounds were in the lowest streams. Boys from working class, not so bad off working class, were in the middle stream, and the boys from middle class professionals, parents, they were in the top stream. And they did Latin and Greek and so on. And, it was a meritocracy, because you could work your way up from one level to the other and so on. And I did reasonably well. But I must say that the teachers had very low expectations of the students, because we were the children of immigrants. We were expected to leave school and go and work in the hospitals, on the buses, in the factories and so on. We weren't supposed to have aspirations to become doctors and scientists, and we were having ambitions above our station, so to speak.
And I saw in an interview that you did that when you came to the UK, they held you back. They didn't put you in the correct class because of this expectation.
Well, that's right. I was in a low stream, and I had to work my way up,
Yeah. And I have so many different streams of questions for you. I almost want to go back to Jamaica a little bit, because I know one of your big influences and one of my personal big influences as well is Miss Lou, the work of
Mm-hmm.
Miss Louise Bennett, who is a super, super, super critical educator, performer, poet, obviously of in Jamaica. She's since passed, but she has just influenced a generation of poets just like you and of musicians, and uh, she really just made she put such a wonderful light on Jamaican folkloric tradition, and also really emphasize the beauty of patois and the importance of talking about patois, talking in patois, writing in patois. Tell us a little bit about you just getting introduced to Miss Lou and how you know kind of gain inspiration from her.
I knew very little about Miss Lou when I was in Jamaica. I left there at the age of 11. But I knew of her because there used to be a little school magazine called Children's Own. And there would be stuff in there about Louise Bennett. I mean, she was already legendary from that time. And then during the 70s and later on, she had a program on TV that all the young people, kids watch called Ringding. Ringding. People told me about it, but I was in England at the time, so I never saw any of them. Where she would entertain them with Jamaica's rich folk culture. But I only met her for the first time. I think it was in 1981 when I was doing research for a series of radio programs that I was commissioned by the BBC to make on the history of Jamaican music, the, the history of reggae, tracing its roots back to the 19th century. And my good friend um, Mervyn Morris, emeritus professor of English literature and language at the University of the West Indies, said, "Oh, you need to talk to Miss Lou." And I got to meet Miss Lou, and she was a huge reservoir of knowledge about Jamaica's roots and folk culture. And, you know, she was able to give me insights into some of the main ingredients that went into what was Jamaica's first popular music, which was the mento, and how a lot of Jamaica's folk culture is related to deaths, the wakes that people have, the 9 nights of that follows somebody's demise. But she was such a font of knowledge. I mean, she told me about a whole kinds of stuff that I hadn't been aware of. She was a great help, and not only that, she was such a nice person. She invited me to her house, gave me tea and stuff, very hospitable. And of course, a couple of years later, she was in London doing a show at the Lyric Theatre in Hammersmith, and she said she wanted me to join her on that show. So I was.
What year was that?
I think it was in '82 or '83, because I was in Cuba, and I remember Chris Blackwell arranged for. This is the guy who owned Island Records. Arranged for a limousine to pick me up from Heathrow Airport as I stepped off the plane from Havana to take me to the Lyric Theatre to do this recording with Miss Lou. It was great fun. We did this song Under the Coconut Tree. And I said to her, "Miss Lou, me can't sing, but I could talk my part." And she said, "All right, Linton, talk your part." So we did that. And then we did this word game called This one is titled Morning Body. We did that. And we did something else. I did about 3 items. And they came out on our album, Yes Me Dear, which was recorded live at the Lyric Theatre in Hammersmith. Wonderful woman. And then I met her several times after that. She'd invite me over for dinner. She put on these elaborate, what I can only call feast. You know, lots of food and drink and good vibes. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was going to say let's listen to some Miss Lou, but I don't want to cut you. I want to say something else. I want to play Under the Coconut Tree though, just so people get an idea.
Hear Miss Lou than hear me.
Well, let's listen to some Miss Lou. It's only a minute 27. We're coming right back to you. This is super fascinating. Again, we have Linton Kwesi Johnson here with us on the lot.
It was under the coconut tree, darling. Under the coconut tree, darling. You promised to marry to me, darling. It was under the coconut tree.
It was under the coconut tree, darling. It was there that you gave it to me, darling. It was there that you gave me your heart, darling. It was under the coconut tree.
It was under the coconut tree, darling. It was there you took my heart from me, darling, and promised to marry to me, darling. It was under the coconut tree. Let's go under the coconut tree, darling. Let's go under the coconut tree, darling. Let's go under the coconut tree, darling. Let's go under the coconut tree, darling.
Yes, yes. So those are the sounds of Miss Lou, aka Louise Bennett. She is a national hero for us in Jamaica.
Who was that singing with her? Was that Randy Williams?
I'm actually not 100% sure. It comes off of this record right here. But
I don't want your listeners to think that was me, because that wasn't me.
this was definitely an earlier version of
Yeah.
what you guys did. Yeah.
I actually talked my bit, right? Yeah, I didn't
Okay.
sing my bit, and it was much longer than that.
Okay.
But it was great fun, and we had the audiences in stitches because I was doing like a parody of myself.
That I feel like that was the beauty of Miss Lou, and her charm was a way to she really, I mean, so much of what she did had to do with children folk songs and songs from the playground, and she really brought in children through her education.
Well, not only that, not only did she educate an entire generation or generations of Jamaican young people to give them a sense of their African roots and to instill in them pride in their African ancestry and their African culture. She was a fine poet, a great poet. And she gave people like me and generations of Jamaican poets the confidence and the authority to use Jamaican speech as a legitimate vehicle of poetic discourse.
That's actually, I'm so happy you say that, because that's something I wanted to talk to you about, because I'm so intrigued by, for someone who left Jamaica at that age that you did, at age 11, to come back to Patois and make it the cornerstone of your work, and to really center in everything that you do. I imagine, as you said, it's people like Miss Lou that gave you the confidence, as you said, to do that. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I don't call it patois, I call it Jamaican Creole or Jamaican talk or just Jamaican language. Or as Kamau Brathwaite, the famous Bajan poet historian, called it nation language. Patois is more associated with French, versions of French. Anyway, I only became aware of Miss Lou as a poet in the early 1970s when I was just started out to write. There was a book called An Anthology of Caribbean Poetry, edited by one of my mentors, the Jamaican poet Andrew Salke, famous poet, novelist, and broadcaster, who had this anthology of Caribbean verse, which included a couple of poems by Louise Bennett. One of them was called, she's very famous for this poem, Colonization in Reverse, about the impact of Jamaican migration on British culture. And I got to know more about Miss Lou through Mervyn Morris. I mentioned Professor Mervyn Morris, because he'd written a very, very famous essay. I think it was an award-winning essay called On Reading Miss Lou Seriously. Because she was just seen as just a popular poet, someone, with a great sense of humor and all of that. But Mervyn showed in his essay that she was a serious poet who had mastered all the poetic devices of composition and so on, who was very strong, not just on humor, but very strong on irony. And a lot of her poetry taught people about the Jamaican personality and the Jamaican character and who we are. It was like she was holding up a mirror to us so that we could see ourselves better. She's a phenomenon. I mean, I don't know why. She probably wouldn't want it, but she should be on one of them, $1,000 bills or something, or on a stamp or something. But she wasn't that kind of a person who had a big ego or anything like that. She was just a wonderful, bubbly, talented, inspirational person, great, one of the great Jamaicans of the 20th century.
I completely agree, and let's listen to some more of her work. This one is called Towns of Jamaica, off of the same record, Jamaican folk song, sung by Louise Bennett.
Cotton tree and maca tree, walla walla and jackass. You have to scully rat, gully fly, Sally. Time and patience, all got and beer. Dumpy hill, poppy hill, granny Rita hill. Devil's course and jackass parade. Duna Dong, Constitution Hill, mashallah, in all born ground. There is even a place in Westmoreland, them call Mother Rogers Saucepan. Now the parishes are Clarendon, St. Andrew, St. Mary, St. Thomas, Portland, Westmoreland, St. Andrew too, you see, St. Anne, St. James, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Trelawney, there's Hanover and Kingston, and now listen to me. You have Hunter Bottom, Missing Bottom, Frightened Bottom, man min behold. I take time a pack a piece of Mokotong Vale, I dry up a piece and a Nancy Kataku, Guava Ridge, Sister Bridge, Granny Niche. Put together and tumble down. Maca tree and cotton tree, Walla Walla and Jagastown. You have to scully rat, gully fly, Jack Sally. Time and patience, all got and bear. Dumpy hill, poppy hill, granny bitter pill. Jackass parade and the devil race course. Duna Dong, Constitution Hill. Mashallah, in old bone ground. There is even a place in Westmoreland. Them call Mother Rogers Saucepan.
Again, that one called Towns of Jamaica. It's another one of these selections by Miss Lou. What did Miss Lou's example teach you about language and identity and resistance even?
It just gave you the confidence and the power to write how you talked. It gave me a sense of the validity, the importance, and the effectiveness of orality in modern literature, in poetry, that the spoken word is as equally important as the written word, and that we Jamaican people from the Caribbean we've inherited both the written word and the spoken word as part of our culture. And yeah, it just, I'm writing a poem in Jamaican speech, and I don't have to think twice about will people like it, will people understand it, will people say it's bad language or whatever. No, Miss Lou did it.
Miss Lou did it, so I can do it too. And I think this is the perfect segue into another selection by you. When you talk about the confidence to speak the way that we were, just everyday language, I think this is just a perfect example of that. Do you want to say anything about this selection here, or should I just play it first?
Yeah, just play it.
All right, let's do it. This one is called England is a Bitch.
England is a bitch, 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 bitch. England is a bitch, 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 bitch. When me just come to London town, me used to work on the underground. But working on the underground, you don't get to know your way around. England is a bitch, there's no escaping it. England is a bitch, there's no running away from it. Me get a little job in a big hotel, and after a while me was doing quite well. Them start me off as a dishwasher, but when me take a stock, me no turn clock watcher. England is a bitch, there's no escaping it. England is a bitch, nobody try to hide from it. When them give you the little wage packet, first them rob it with them big tax racket. You have to struggle to make ends meet, and when you go to your bed, you just can't sleep. England is a bitch, there's no escaping it. England is a bitch for true, I no lie me I tell a true. Me used to work big bitch when it full no bitch. Me did strong like a mule, but why me did fool? Then after a while me just stop the overtime. Then after a while me just put down me tool. England is a bitch, a bitch, a bitch, a bitch. There's no escape in it.
So you said you wanted to mention something else about Miss Lou.
Yeah, it's to do with the fact that she was an influence on one of Jamaica's poet laureates. Of course, Mervyn Morris was Jamaica's first modern poet laureate who thought Louise Bennett was very important. But she also influenced another Jamaican poet laureate, Lorna Goodison. In fact, Lorna Goodison, when I met Lorna Goodison, she was living in a cottage owned by Louise Bennett up in Gordon Town in St. Andrews. Anyway, cut a long story short, Lorna Goodison has a tremendous amount of respect for Louise Bennett. And Lorna Goodison, I don't know why on earth she decided to do this, because it's just crazy. Dante's Divine Comedy. There's a book called, oh shit, I can't remember the name of it.
Is it La Vita Nuova? No.
No.
Inferno?
Yeah.
Yeah. Inferno.
Dante's Inferno. That's it. Dante's Inferno. Louise Bennett has done a Jamaican translation of the book.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and in the original, apparently, it was one of these Latin poets like Virgil or someone like that who was the guide of Dante as he entered the underworld, taking him through it. But in her version, Louise Bennett is the guide, taking her through Dante's Inferno.
That's so
The
brilliant.
underworld, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I've read it. I mean, I can't make heads or tails of it, but it's a remarkable achievement to Jamaicanize this classic piece of European literature.
Yeah, well, I feel like I've only like scratched the surface of Louise Bennett and her impact, and I was introduced to her as a child in Jamaica. I mean, her impact has just spanned so many generations. It's amazing. My mother, my grandmother, everybody always passed her teachings down to me, and that's why it's so awesome to see how inspired you are also by her and her legacy. Yeah, I feel like we could talk about Louise Bennett forever. I have these tracks that I know are relevant to you in different ways, and I kind of wanted to go through them a little bit.
Okay.
This first one, so these are tracks that, yeah, again, you were connected to in different ways, and we can contextualize each of them. This first one being Psalm 2 by Prince Far Eye. What do you want to say about that one? Or do you have anything to say about it? Do you want to just play it?
Let me hear a bit of it first.
All right, so this first tune here, Psalm 2, Prince Far Eye.
Why do the heathen range and the people imagine a vain thing? False kings of the earth are set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together. Against the Lord and against the night they say.
I first heard the early version of this, because this is not the original. The original was by Big Youth. And Big Youth was a big influence on me when I was a teenager. He was the first reggae DJ to bring Rasta talk into DJ lyricism. And I think when I used Prince Far Eye's version in a lecture I gave on reggae music, talking about how strong the Bible itself as a literary influence, even as an oral influence in Jamaican popular culture was, and that was an example of it. I think I also used Bob Marley and the Wailers. The Wailers is no, not Redemption Song. Yes, my friend.
Set me free.
That tune.
Yeah. Yes, my friend. Is everyone going to draw a blank right now?
I think we're all drawing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Small Axe. I think it might have been Small Axe. And other tunes. But that Jamaican music, reggae music, is full of quotations from the Bible, from the Old Testament in particular.
I read that was one of the, I mean, that was kind of, as you said, the Bible was the only book that was in your home growing up, so that was obviously a big inspiration or a big, starting point for you and your poetry.
Yeah, it's a big part of the oral tradition in Jamaica, because people who are not able to read and write, who are illiterate, they still know bits and pieces from the Bible, because it has become part of the oral culture,
Definitely. All right, let's keep playing this one, and I'll bring us into the next selection. This one again, Psalm 2 by Prince Far Eye.
Thou son, thou art thy son, for thee forgotten be not. Ask of thee, and I shall give thee thy inheritance. In the uttermost part of the earth for thy possession. Jah shall break them in pieces like a rod of iron. Jah shall dash them away like a pot of vessels, I would say. Let us break the bounds of sunder and cast away the clouds from us. He that seeketh on his heaven shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in his region, and then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex to them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I said unto my king upon the holy hills of Zion, I will now declare unto thee, the Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee thy inheritance, the utmost part of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them in pieces like a rod of fire. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a pot of vessels, I would say. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a pot of vessels, I would tell you. Yeah. So be wise therefore ye, interested judge of the earth. Yeah. Serve the Lord with fear, rejoice in
Rude is in court now, boys. Rude is in court. Rude is in court now, boys. Rude is in court. Order. Now this court is in session, and I order all you rude boys to stand. You're brought here for gun shooting, ratchet using, and bomb showings. Now, tell me, rude boys, what have you to say for yourselves? Your Hannah. Rudies don't fear. Rudies don't fear, no boys. Rudies don't fear. Rudies don't fear, no boys. Rudies don't fear. Rougher than rough.
Well, this tune came out when I was a teenager, you know, loved it, absolutely loved it. But it was part of a lyrical warfare that was going on between Prince Buster and Derek Morgan. Derek Morgan was in Prince Buster's camp, and then he left and went to record for this other Jamaican Chinese producer, I forget his name. So Buster did a song putting down Derek Morgan, Blackhead Chinaman he called it, you know, back in the days of ska. And later on, Derek Morgan had replied to that particular tune. I forgot what the tune he made, but this one should be seen in the context of Prince Buster's Judge Dredd, because this song is celebrating the rude boys of Jamaica in the 60s. And Prince Buster's version, well, not version, Prince Buster's Judge Dredd was the antidote to what Derek Morgan was saying. Prince Buster assumed the persona of a judge from Ethiopia who would come to Jamaica to pass judgment on all these rude boys who were shooting and robbing and killing black people, you know. And he was sentencing them to 400 years and 1,000 lashes and stuff like that, yeah.
Wow, I love that. Early sound clashing, I guess you could say in some way.
And Prince Buster was one of the first people to do talking tunes, you know. I remember a tune by him called Shepherd Bang, where this woman had left him, that run off with this guy she said was her cousin or something. And so her husband goes, or man goes to this Obia man and wants the Obia man to get his woman back, you know. She called Shepherd Bang.
Jamaican music is just such a treasure chest of these types of these songs and these stories, and some so serious and then some so playful, but often with some serious undertone too. It's really amazing. This next one that I'm going to play, you mentioned this artist and he's a huge inspiration to you, Big Youth, and this one's called All Nations Bow. Do you have anything to say about this one before we get started?
No, I just loved all of early Big Youth stuff. And that word game I did with Miss Lou, Louise Bennett, Man and Body, Prince Buster has a version of that.
Okay.
His own version.
Have some homework to do. This one is All Nations Bow by Big Youth.
I will praise thee, O Jah, with all my heart. I will ever praise thee continually. It was the same say to ask why do the heathen rage and the people imagine vain things. It was the same false kings that set themselves and the false rulers to counsel together against his imperial majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Said the illness times appointed your reign on earth is now. I came to break down pressure and to set I and I the captive free, to drive away transgressors and to rule equality.
I'm realizing how close we are to 2 o'clock, which is unfortunate because I could talk to you for hours, but I did have a question for you. Because, I mean, I feel like music today has become so depoliticized and it's so much less common. You see it in Jamaican music sometimes, but I mean, I think overall in pop music, it's just a lot less political or socially charged than we've ever seen before. And I'm just curious to know about your thoughts on that, and also what you would tell a young artist about the importance of using their art to talk about social issues and to use it for this purpose.
Well, you can't tell nobody what to create, what to write, and you know, that depends on the artist's consciousness. Some people have a social conscience or a political consciousness that might be reflected in their art, but it doesn't have to be, really. You can't prescribe for people's creativity. But I think it's a reflection of how things and times have changed. We're living in a much more consumerist age, where the emphasis is more on what one economist called conspicuous consumption and the ownership of things. The generation that came after those socially conscious artists in Jamaica were the bling generation, you know. And funny, it corresponded with the end of the democratic socialist experiment of Michael Manley's government during the 70s. And when Siaga came into power, that was when dancehall, the whole slackness and bling and all that kind of took over.
You see a parallel story here with Reagan and disco and hip hop happening also at the same time.
Yeah, so the art reflects the times, you know. It's just as simple as that.
That is true. That is true. We have just about 6 minutes left, and we have more than 6 minutes of music. But I think I want to play this one by Yellow Man. I see here, Gunman, just to bring us into this kind of more into this dance hall generation. You have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, the early dancehall music was, I mean, you were still getting good conscious lyrics. It still had a relationship to reggae in terms of the drum and bass. I mean, the rhythms that you hear in dancehall nowadays are so minimalistic. I don't know where they come from. They have absolutely nothing to do with Jamaican music as such. I mean, during the time of Steely and Clevie, those guys used to make some wicked drum and bass type stuff, which provided a perfect background for the DJs to create their lyricism. But in the early phases, you know, there was a battle going on. Carolyn Cooper, the Jamaican academic, talked about slackness versus culture. There was a battle, a lyrical battle between slackness and culture.
Let's get into this one. We can talk more as it plays.
I like Yellow Man. I like his. I think he's a very witty DJ. He knows how to ride a rhythm. I did a show with him one time. I think it was in Greece. This is during the 90s. We did a show together in Athens, and I remember we were we were having food at this restaurant, Greek restaurant, and when the waiter came around and said to Yellow Man, what would you like, sir? He said, me want hockey and saltfish and dumpling and banana. My
You can take a man out Jamaica.
our guitarist, his wife, didn't think that was very funny at all. She was embarrassed.
Here, this one is Yellow Man with Gunman.
M16 in a Vietnam fight war. You put it on ignorance. You kill out a whole family. You put it on rapid. They say you wicked. You sit in a green and
All right, so we're getting so close to the end of this hour, and I just want to again thank you so much, Linton, for being here. I don't even feel right calling you Linton, Mr. Linton, LKJ, Mr. LKJ. It's been such an honor. And when we were outside before we got started with the show, I asked you, what do you like to listen to outside of Jamaican music? And you said? Jazz, a man of good taste. So I want to play this last tune by Charlie Parker, this one called Embraceable You. Do you have anything to say about this one? We close it out as your final selection.
It's quite simply beautiful. It's very lyrical, very moving. Lovely tune.
Love that. This one, Embraceable You by Charlie Parker. Yes, yes, that one called Embraceable You. Someone asked in the chat, that's Charlie Parker, and also Miles Davis is on that track. So you're here, two legendary hornblowers on that one. Embraceable You. All right, so we actually have time for a little bit more. By Linton's request, he wanted me to play something from his 1998 record, More Time, and that specific tune is called Hurricane Blues. Would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, I chose that track because it's I like the instrumentation, and I am not known for that kind of lyricism. It's a love poem.
That's perfect to come after Embraceable You. So let's play this. This one called Hurricane Blues by Linton Kwesi Johnson.
Long time lover, my mind run pon you all the while. And remember how first time the two of we come in, it did seem like two shallow little snaking stream. Marching, mapless, hapless a galang through the rugged landscape of the heart song. And that's how we did a go on, so till that fateful day. After the passion of the hurricane, further than imagination or dream, we find ourselves lay down upon the same bedrock, flowing out together as one stream, riding sublime through love lavish terrain, lush and green and bright after the rain, shimmering with glittering eyes, glowing in the glare of the smiling sun. Feel blue for true when me think about you. Blue like the sky, lingering promise of rain, in the leaking light, in the hush of an evening twilight. When me remember how first time the two of we come in, it did seem like a long, long river that is wide and deep. Sometimes it was silent like the language of rock stone. Sometimes we would have sing a river song as we are wine along. Sometimes we just cool and calm under plenty shady tree. Sometimes softly lapping bamboo root as them swing and sway. Sometimes cascading carefree down a steep gully bank. Sometimes turbulent in temperament, we flood the bank. But whether ebb or flow, through rain, through drought, we never stray far from love rigid route. Old time sweetheart, up to now me still can't understand how we get back down in a so much silt and sand, rock stone, debris, log jam. So tell we had was to flow with separate paths. Now traversing the torrid terrain, a love landscape, running from the pollution of a contrite heart. Me long for the marvelous miracle of hurricane. If carry me go a meeting stream again, lamenting me salted fate. Surmising said, it too late.
Yes, yes. Once again, thank you so much for joining us this last hour. Thank you so much, Linton, for being here.
Pleasure.
This has been wonderful. Again, this is the legendary Linton Kwesi Johnson here on the Lot Radio. And I learned something new in our conversation outside, that you play the bass.
I'm not really a bass player as such, but I've always, the music on my record, I've always composed the music with the bass. I'm not really, Dennis says I'm a musician. Dennis Bovell, my bass player, he says I'm a musician. But I've always been a wannabe bass player. So for the last 25 years, I've been working on this, what I call vanity project of producing an album, with an instrumental album with me playing the bass. And I finished it a couple of months ago, after 25 years, but it won't be out for release until maybe long after I'm dead, because I have no immediate plans for its release, apart from maybe something posthumous.
Well, you won't have anything to do with that. So I want everyone in this chat right now to begin the petition for this instrumental release to come out. We have lots of people in here saying thank you so much and saying that they enjoyed this and music is beautiful and we're so grateful to have you. But we want more. We're greedy. So we'd love to hear that record if you're ever feeling generous.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And again, I hope you bought your tickets. We will see you on Saturday at Brooklyn Academy of Music for Dreadbeat and Blood, both a celebration of not only the poem, but also the documentary portrait that was beautifully restored. And big up Gabrielle, who's here right now from 77 Films. They have a lot to do with, well, you curated the night, so you made it happen, brought Linton here. Lonnie Linton here with us today, and again, I just appreciate you and everything you've done for the movie Babylon as well. You guys get to know this guy; he's amazing, Gabriel Caroti. But I just wanted to, again, say I'll see you on Saturday at BAM to see the film, to hear Linton perform here in New York for the first time in almost 20 years, and also recite poetry. Let me get that right. Recite poetry for the first time in almost 20 years here in New York City. He has been here in the last 20 years, but reciting poetry. And then also a conversation with Van R. Newkirk II, who is a senior editor at The Atlantic. So it's going to be a treat. It's sold out, unfortunately, so hope to see you there.
Standby line.
There's a standby line, so come early, and maybe you can get a ticket. But if you've already bought your ticket, we will see you there. But again, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, Linton. Here we go. And we have Jada Lorraine coming up next. What a treat. But all right, you guys, I'm going to leave you with the last minute of Street 66. Until next time, peace.
Feeling high, reply. Yes, this is Street 66. Step right in and take some licks.